I was spoiled.
You're spoiled.
I was spoiled rotten. My birth mother was, I believe, 14 when she had me, and my mother had been wanting to have a child for years. So she went, and with her friend, they adopted me. They took the flight together. My dad waited, and I met him in Seattle. And I just turned a year, and it was very sheltered, very loving family. That I was their only child, still am, their only child. They were very protective. I want to say when I was about in 4th grade, my grandmother passed away, my dad's mother. She lived with us for years.
Yeah.
And we decided to start over and move to New Mexico. My mom was so sick of the rain. So we moved to New Mexico. She had put me in public school, but she didn't like what she saw. And so the next year I went to Hope Christian. I went there from 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. And then for years I was begging for a sibling. They weren't going to give me a sibling, so the second best option was, can I go off to school so I can be with a bunch of people like college, you know. When I moved to New Mexico, my mother decided to stay at home with me. When all growing up, she had her own furniture store. She worked Tuesday through Saturday. She was never home. I was always at daycare. And so why, when we move here, do you all of a sudden want to stay at home? And she said, this is the perfect age. You need to be monitored. You need to watch your children at a certain age. We went to church. I was the oldest grandchild. I guess I just was a good kid. I wanted more freedom. I had friends that they were dating and they were able to hang out at night, and I had to be in by 6:30 and bedtime was 7:45. And so I started to resent them, why can't I have, why can't I'm a good kid. I never missed a day of school and I've never acted out, but that was their reasoning. They were afraid that if they let me have more freedom, I would go down the wrong path. I went off to boarding school. It was a great experience. I loved the independence. I loved that we could take the bus to the mall, we could go out to dinner. It was kind of like college, but you were still in high school. I went to Italy for a semester at the school to study history. That was pretty cool. I graduated number 3 in my class. I want to stay with my boyfriend. Well, if you stay, you will not, your stuff will be outside the next day. And sure enough, it was. And that kind of led to some anger and more, they don't care. And so I kind of just went off the deep end of, I'm going to go out a lot now. I never was a drinker, but I'm going to go out and, people are experimenting with cocaine. I'm going to experiment with all that stuff. And it's fine because I know what I'm doing and I have a college degree. And so I figured I knew it all. And I had my own place. I just had a little girl. And I figured, well, I'm doing just fine. I can balance everything. But before you know it, a couple months go by and then you're like, you just slowly spiral out. You can't even see it at first, And at that time my parents weren't talking to me because I had a child and I wasn't married. And it's crazy how when they found out I was going downhill, they jumped right in, and they were so supportive. Like when the first time I went to jail, they were there. They said they were praying for me, and that my grandma was praying for me, and it kind of was. At first, I didn't care, oh, now you want to be here, But then it got to the point where, wow, they really do care. I just think I was going through those teenage years thinking that because I couldn't do stuff, they didn't like me, when really there's a reason for everything. Well, when I went to jail, I was for shoplifting. I was real manic. I found out I was bipolar. And I didn't even realize half the time I was doing it. I had a boyfriend, and we started partying. And because of going to jail, it led to pretrial, which led to court cases and probation. And because of that, and I just started partying, I thought, I can get away with it. I can do it today, and she'll never know. Well, they do know. It started catching up, and I would go in there probably out of my mind, thinking I'm normal, probably moving all over, and they'd put me in jail. And I'd be there for a week, and then I'd get out, and my dad would show up from Denver, picking me up, and I'd be like, can I go back inside, please? I don't want to see him, And I did that a good 4 or 5 times until the judge was like, I'm done. I don't want to see you anymore, And I think it was because this is the first time I've ever gotten in trouble. I only had one charge, the shoplifting. And I think he looked at it like, you're not going to go down this path and I'm going to throw the book at you. And I was so angry about that, how do everyone else, they seem to get a break, no. I think they give you as much rope as you can hang yourself, and so they weren't going to let me fall through the cracks. And so I had one last chance, and I stayed there for about 9 months. And they said, this time, in order to get out, you have to be in a program. There's a caseworker at jail, and they have a list of the programs you can join. And I remember filling out that one, and I liked the questions. Like, do you believe in God? What your favorite verse? Stuff like that. The other places, it was more of a 30 to 90 day programs, and I was ordered to at least a minimum of, I want to say, 6 months to a year. And so we found a program. They actually accepted me. And then the judge says, well, not only that, we want $1,000 right now to bail out, which that wasn't part of the thing, but it's like he was really fighting against me to get here. So I had to find out from my father if he could help me out. He did. I got out. My friend brought me right over to the mission, and the van was there waiting. It was like a sigh of relief. As soon as I got out the car, my friend loaded my stuff in the back of the van, and they got out and gave me a hug. Miss Sandra, I remember that. And as soon as they picked me up, they went and picked up the other girls, and we went off to I think it was like a recovery at Copper Point. It was like a Friday night thing. And that was the first time, and it rained horribly that night. But I just remember I felt at peace. It was like, even though it was horrible outside, it was pouring, and there was no electricity the first night we were there because the power went out. So I couldn't even see what it looked like inside really. It was neat. I was happy. I was around different people that had different struggles like myself. And it was very interesting how they were so willing to bring me in. And that right there meant a lot. Like, they didn't know me, but they were so willing to bring me in, and they were so caring, and, oh, do you need this or do you need that? Because I began to open up to who I used to be growing up, from what my parents saw me as, but that was lost for so long. I learned that you cannot do it yourself without God. You can't. You can try to, but you cannot do it yourself. And the people you surround yourself with, and you have to get yourself plugged in, whether it's into a church group or a prayer group. You have to have some type of plug to keep you going, someone to keep you accountable. And I learned that in the program. Like, when you have bad days, you could talk to someone, and there was always something there to bring you up. You have to realize you're not here, you're not alone. There are people that don't know you that want to be there for you. And that's such a weird concept. I guess maybe being adopted, I'm not used to being accepted. Don't give up. Keep praying, because you might not understand what they're going through or why they're doing what they're doing, but believe me, they do see your actions, whether they appreciate it or not. They do see what you're doing for them. They just might not be in that phase of their life to accept it or be ready to change. And so don't quit, because if my mom would have quit, I don't know where I would be. They never gave up, and she would send me Bible verses by the week in jail. And I would look forward to that, but I never let her know. Because I didn't want her to know you were right. But deep down, I did hear. We might not act like we hear, but we hear. It's perfect. We talk every day. We look back at, like, I can't believe I was even like that. That's embarrassing. We're very, very close. It's neat. It's how it should have been from the beginning.